The knock came softer than he expected, a hesitant sound that barely disturbed the quiet of the small house, yet it landed in his chest like a thunderclap. As a single dad, his life had been rebuilt from routines and responsibilities, not surprises, and tonight was already a risk he almost canceled. He opened the door with a careful breath, ready to smile and pretend he remembered how to begin again, and then his body went still. The woman standing there carried a nervous warmth in her posture, but what froze him was the way she leaned closer, her voice low and urgent, explaining that her children were waiting in the car. In that instant, the night shifted, the air thickened with memories, fears, and a hope he had locked away for years. Before the story carries you any further, if you believe in kindness, second chances, and the quiet miracles that happen when two broken paths cross, please take a moment to like this video, comment your thoughts, share it with someone who needs hope, and subscribe to the channel Grandma Dearie. Your support keeps stories like this alive. He had not planned for this kind of evening. The house was clean in a way that suggested effort rather than perfection. Toys tucked into corners, a faint smell of dinner still clinging to the walls. He had spent years learning how to be everything at once for his own child, learning how to smile through exhaustion and how to carry grief without letting it harden him. Dating had been an idea more than a reality, something friends insisted on, while he quietly believed that his life no longer had room for it. Tonight was supposed to be simple, a brief meeting, a test of courage. Instead, it placed a mirror in front of him, reflecting his own story back through someone else's eyes. She explained, with an honesty that disarmed him, that she could not leave her kids alone, not after everything they had been through. Her words were not dramatic, just heavy with responsibility, the kind that reshapes a person. He noticed the way her hands trembled slightly, the way her smile fought against fear, and suddenly the past rushed in. He remembered standing in hospital hallways with a crying child in his arms, remembered nights when silence felt louder than screams, remembered how the world seemed to expect him to be strong without ever asking how. The surprise was not the children in the car, but how deeply he understood. He stepped aside and let the moment breathe. The night air carried the sound of distant traffic and the soft hum of an engine idling outside, and he imagined the children waiting, wondering if this place was safe, if this stranger behind the door was kind. He felt the weight of choice pressing down on him. He could close the door gently and retreat back into the safety of solitude, or he could open his life just a little wider. The fear was real, sharp, and familiar, but so was the ache of loneliness that had settled into his bones over the years. The house seemed to change as he decided. It was no longer just a shelter for survival, but a space that could hold more laughter, more mess, more life. He invited her to bring the children inside, not as a grand gesture, but as a quiet acknowledgement that families come in unexpected forms. When the car doors opened and small figures stepped into the light, cautious and curious, something in him softened. He saw his own child in their eyes, that careful mix of hope and self-protection that children learn far too early. The evening unfolded without perfection. There were awkward moments, spilled juice, nervous glances, and long pauses filled with unspoken questions. Yet beneath it all was a gentle current of understanding. He noticed how she watched her children with constant awareness, how she laughed easily but flinched at sudden noises, how strength and vulnerability lived side by side in her. She noticed the way he listened more than he spoke, the way he knelt to be at eye level with the kids, the way his home felt lived in rather than staged. As the hours passed, something subtle began to shift. The children relaxed, their laughter echoing through rooms that had known too much quiet. He felt a warmth he had forgotten, not the rush of romance, but the steady comfort of connection. It did not erase his past or hers. Instead, it made room for it. He realized that love, at this stage of life, was not about rescue or perfection. It was about recognition, about seeing another person's scars and deciding not to turn away. Later, when the night grew late and the house returned to a calmer rhythm, he stood alone for a moment, reflecting on how close he had come to missing this. He understood that being a single parent had taught him resilience, but it had also taught him caution, sometimes to the point of isolation. Tonight reminded him that courage does not always roar. Sometimes it opens a door and listens. The days that followed were not a fairy tale. There were schedules to juggle, fears to confront, and conversations that required honesty and patience. There were moments when doubt crept in, whispering that it would be easier to retreat. But there were also shared breakfasts, small victories, and a growing sense that their lives, once parallel lines of survival, were beginning to move towards something shared. The children formed tentative bonds, testing trust the way only children can, and the adults learned to lean on each other without losing themselves. He discovered that his heart, though weathered, was not closed. It had simply been waiting for someone who understood that love is not a clean slate, but a collage of past and present, held together by choice. She discovered that she did not have to carry everything alone, that strength could be shared without being diminished. Together, they built something quiet and resilient, rooted not in dramatic gestures, but in daily acts of care. Just before the ending of this story, take a moment to comment below and share what this journey means to you, or how a second chance changed your life. Your words matter more than you know. As time passed, the memory of that first night remained vivid, not because it was perfect, but because it was real. A door opened, fear acknowledged, and kindness chosen. If this story touched your heart, if it reminded you that love can arrive carrying responsibility instead of romance, please like this video, share it, and engage with it so more hearts can find it. Sometimes the most beautiful beginnings start with a pause, a breath, and the courage to let others in.